Good morning, and welcome to our business community discussions that we do each week right here on the Main Street Fort Dodge Facebook page and also on the Alpha Media YouTube channel. Really excited about today's discussion. We're going to be talking about the auto industry and all things going on with it, and I'm sure most of you have seen there's a lot going on with pricing, there's a lot going on with inventory, and we're going to get into all of that today with our guest TJ Pingel with Shimcat Motors. So we'll get all the details on how all of that is working today, and I'm looking very forward to that. But before we get into that, let's bring on our regular contributors. Of course, Cheryl O'Hearn with Spin Market and Digital. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, we will have a full hour plus because our pre-show indicated that there was more than enough things to talk about this hour.
Yeah, it's sure
a lot of interesting things for the whole community. So whether you're a car fanatic or you need to know about some of the other things going on in the state, this is the program to watch today.
Yeah, it's sure going to be good. Let's also bring on Darcy Swan with North Central Iowa's SPDC. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you guys?
Great.
Good. I can't believe it's Thursday again already.
I know. It just sneaks up on us every single week.
It does. It's crazy. Yeah.
And Memorial Week here in just another week, too. And then it's June and Frontier Days.
Oh.
Wow. It's just the summer is already just kicking off.
Yeah, it's already kicking into summer. We've been getting some much needed rain this week. So while it might bring gloomy days, it's sure welcome to see a little bit of that rain come down.
Very much so.
All right. Well, let's kind of get into our topic today and bring on TJ. Good morning, TJ.
Hello, how are you?
Good morning.
Good. So we're excited to talk about today's topic, but it's certainly one that's a little bit crazy out there. There's a semi-conductor chip shortage, or computer chips. Let's just make it real simple. That's going on. It's affecting a ton of different industries. I mean, if you're looking for a brand new refrigerator, this is probably affecting you. If you're looking for dishwashers, this is probably affecting you. Anything that's involving computer chips, but specifically hitting the auto industry really, really hard. $110 billion in revenue expected to be lost in 2021. So, TJ, that's a huge number. What's going on with it?
Well, I wish a lot of us knew exactly what was going on, but it started with COVID. I mean, it seems like anything nowadays, everything started in COVID, but the demand for electronics increased so much with more people staying at home and wanting things to do that TVs started getting bought up. The video game systems, DVD players, all this stuff started being in high demand, which meant that the computer chips that go into everything were getting used up. Well,
we joke a little bit about even now your blender has a computer chip in it. And that's a little bit of a joke, but it's really not that far off when you start thinking about all the different things that are now using computer chips, are integrated into our smart features and things like that.
Yeah, I think there's very few things anymore that doesn't use some sort of semiconductor to get something. I mean, the connected devices that are out there today is just amazing. I mean, you got your vacuums, you've got your obviously cell phones. Everybody's upgrading to the newest, best one every year. And
yeah, Alexas, all of these things, they're all semiconductor rich.
Yeah. Well, in cars, they use approximately 1,500 of them to make a vehicle.
One vehicle, 1,500.
For one vehicle. So COVID, the demand for electronics spiked, but then we also had some natural disasters happen. And one of the largest producers of the semiconductors, actually the plant started on fire. So we have about 3 of these in the world, 3 big plants that make semiconductors in the world. And one of them got shut down because of COVID. And so there was a demand that couldn't be reached at that point. Then this other one ended up having a fire. So you got down to about 1 plant producing all the semiconductors in the world. So that was just a start of the issue with the semiconductors. And so when these manufacturers start looking at it, they're having to shut down production because some parts aren't being able to be made. You've got some that can't keep up with the demand anyway, so they're having to shuffle different ones to make sure that their most in-demand vehicles are getting built. And as you look around the industry now, there's a lot of manufacturers that aren't building anything. So it's created a shortage of vehicles like we've never seen before.
Well, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because that's one of the things that we're seeing is a lot of these manufacturers are just saying, well, we're only going to focus on our most popular models, and in some cases models that have fewer semiconductors in them. I mean, I've even heard of some folks saying we can make a delivery, but it's not going to have the maybe backup sensor, or it's not going to have that thing in it that maybe you had hoped for.
Yeah, you know, and with some of the regulations now that we have to have certain safety features on vehicles, it makes it really tough. So I know with the Ram truck is one of our best-selling vehicles. They made a decision here about 3 months ago that they're going to start shipping them with only one key as just a way. And then eventually, once the production starts picking up, they'll get the second key to the customer. We've got blind spot monitors on most vehicles nowadays. And I know that's one of the features across the industry that you just can't get on a new vehicle right now. They've just taken them off because there's so many of these chips used in that product.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's talk about, Dodge and Jeep specifically. As you are working with the manufacturer there, what are you hearing as far as, what models are you still able to get and that sort of thing?
So it adds into it too, is this is normally the time that we start switching over to the new model year anyways, but we've seen some vehicles get shut down and switched over to start production at some point, like the Jeep Compass. It's a smaller Jeep, but they stopped making that about 3 months ago. So what Jeep Compasses we have on our lot is about what's out there right now. We can still get some trucks, but it's very limited. They're trying to keep up with production, but we've got about 40 probably on order right now since the beginning of the year, and we're just waiting, hoping that they get in here any day now. The Jeep Wranglers, the Jeep Gladiators have fewer chips, so those are still being made. And they've limited it to certain just kind of trim levels too for some of the other stuff. So it's a little difficult, but if somebody has a sold order, like they know exactly what they want, usually we can still get that put in place and have in almost the same amount of time as we used to, add maybe a couple weeks, because we're also dealing with a shipping issue in the industry that doesn't help anything either.
So let's talk about kind of the situation before, because you said you have probably 40 vehicles that have been on order. You put the order in towards the first part of the year. What did that look like in times previous? What was the time frame to put that order in to start seeing those showing up on the lot? So
in good times, we would place an order, say today, and we'd expect to see that here end of July, maybe beginning of August. That 8-week frame is usually about what we were seeing. During COVID, they did kind of warn us that, hey, predict about 3 months. So plan 3 months ahead versus your 2 months. So instead of planning, in January for your spring market, you're almost having to think of your summer market while you're freezing here in Iowa. So it's definitely when you have to start looking at your reports and everything else, knowing, hey, we sell normally this many of this vehicle, where we're having to project for about half the year at that point. Now we're projecting, we're just ordering as much and as anything that we can to get stuff coming.
Yeah. I want to kind of shift just a little bit, because I do think it still plays a role. I mean, obviously we think about a couple things when we start looking at the economics of any business. Those would be supply and demand. Obviously supply is taking a hit. What has the demand been like? Because it sure seems that the demand may be higher than it's been in a while.
You'd think it's a car salesperson's dream is that the demand is extremely high, but it's also very hard to be able to get some customers exactly what they want because of the shortages. We're doing fairly well with inventory at our lot, but I mean, I think anybody that has driven anywhere has seen some of the larger car dealerships just with empty lots. We've been very lucky on having good trade-ins, and our used inventory is high, where that's another spot is if you don't have any new inventory, you've got to have the used inventory to be able to sell. And the prices on that, we're not a dealership that really goes to the auctions anyways. We do fairly well getting trade-ins as our vehicles to sell. But if you look at the auctions right now, you're buying vehicles about at the price of a brand new one, which means you're selling. Some dealerships are selling these things over what the original vehicle cost brand new. So it's creating this bubble that it's going to burst. And there's going to be a lot of dealerships out there that have gotten themselves into trouble, where we've already seen some of these smaller car lots going out of business due to the trouble of getting inventory. I think we're going to see a lot more come here end of the year, beginning of next year, where these dealerships are seeing some of the trouble they've gotten into by paying too much for some vehicles.
Well, yeah, that's just it. I've talked to some folks on small lots who tell me things like, we're paying retail price. If we want to get vehicles to put on our lot, we have to pay retail price to get them. And so if you're paying retail price out of the gate, you're a business, you've got to have a markup on that. You've got to keep your lights on and pay your folks, keep those mechanics employed. And so that those prices are definitely increasing on those used vehicles.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to, trusting the dealerships, and especially local dealerships. Shimcats has been around for almost 75 years now. The other two have been around for quite a while. I think there's some trust with the community there that they also know they can't do that, where some of these bigger dealerships out of town, they're going to see somebody that they're never going to see again, and they're taking advantage of the situation. And so it's one of those things is, I think a lot of people already have buyer beware when they're talking about buying cars, but you really got to talk to the people you trust that are going to be there for you tomorrow, because we're already looking at the future. I mean, there's a reason that the car dealerships that we have, all of them have a long history with families that they've been around forever for a reason. And it's because they can see these waves and they're not trying to take advantage of somebody right now for a quick buck. They're looking at the future that, we don't want to be here just one more year. We want to be here another 25, 50, 75 years. And the consumers sometimes see the big flashing lights and go there, where a lot of the time the local dealers are going to be better at taking care of you for the long run.
Yeah, well, they have to see you in the grocery store, right? That's kind of what we talk about.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So when we look at this kind of situation going on, a lot of the increase in prices in some of these pre-owned vehicles, are you seeing that cause individuals who may not have previously looked at new cars to maybe be in the market for a brand new car?
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes, especially when you start looking at higher price vehicles, you have to explain it to them, where when you look at the price of a vehicle that's, we have sometimes seen these trucks go into $70,000, $80,000 brand new. Well, we've never seen that on the used side before. And now that people are trading in a lot more frequently and a lot sooner than they used to ever, we're seeing used trucks in the 50s, 60s. I've seen some dealerships trying to sell trucks for $80,000 that still have 30,000 miles on them. These prices are getting so high that it's, as a consultant, you almost have to let some of these people know, well, if you're going to be spending $60,000, $70,000 on this end, for another $5,000, you can get a new vehicle with full warranty, and at that point you have to let them decide. But between the interest rates and everything else that are going on in today's world, sometimes it's hard not to just go new.
Yeah, and you bring up the interest rates. You guys work with a number of different banks, I assume, to secure financing for your customers. What is that relationship looking like in these kind of maybe nearing post-COVID times, hopefully?
Interest rates are as low as I can remember them, especially since right after the Great Recession. Banks have especially credit unions and local banks, they have a great relationship with their customers. And so they do a really good job of helping people. The scariest thing I think that we're seeing is almost reminiscent to the housing market, is we're seeing a lot more subprime buying with less, money down and less proof of incomes and things like that, where you're seeing a lot of people that maybe should be looked at a little bit harder are getting a lot larger loans for a lot longer time. And same thing with the housing market, is these people are getting into things well over their head. And when this bubble pops, you're going to have a lot of people that, so say they have 2 more kids and they need a bigger vehicle. They're going to get into a situation where they're not going to be able to get out of this smaller car because they've got higher interest rates, they've got longer terms. And when they bought the vehicle, it was worth $20,000 more than what it is a year or 2 later, depending on the situation. And I think we're going to see a market where a lot of people are going to be in trouble and not being able to either get into something that fits their life better, or they're not going to be able to afford the payments once things start turning around.
Yeah. Cheryl, you talked a little bit in our pre-show kind of about a correlation in the ag industry, back, and I think you were talking about the 80s when you were seeing something like this kind of similar.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody that's been farming for a few years can remember how horrible the 80s were. And unfortunately, we didn't have anybody to buy us out then. It was sink or swim. But very similar thing. First of the year, everything was fine. Your bank loved you. You had great, if you owned your farmland, it was worth a lot of money. Your grain bins were worth money. And really within 6 to 7 months, nothing had any value. And some of the banks got very scared and started foreclosing immediately. And it wasn't that anybody changed. Nothing changed. It was just that there was no value anymore, and everything went away. A lot of farmers went bankrupt. Fortunately, we were able to survive, but it was tough. It was very tough, even for surviving at that time. And I really see that going on right now with this end. I'm not trying not to be Debbie Downer here, but it's very, very much related to it, because it wasn't anybody's fault. The banks were happy to loan. They thought farming was great, and interest rates started going up, and everything just had the bubble busted. And that's exactly what you're talking about, TJ.
I mean, so when you look at the way things were just, I don't know, not too many years ago on a car lot, every once in a while you'd see a buyer and they'd have a blue book or an NADA, I guess, orange book in their pocket, and they'd rip that thing out and they'd take a look and say, okay, what is this car valued at that I'm looking to buy? Now, of course, we all do that on our phones, or we do that on our desktop. But you can see the value of used cars going up. And that's not something that you typically see, is it?
Yeah, I mean, we don't hide it. These are depreciating assets, but suddenly in 2021, they become an investment, and that just shouldn't be the case. We've seen, and it's really telling of what's going on in the market right now, is normally the NADAs, the black books, the blue books, all of these people that come up with what these vehicles are worth, they would update monthly. NADA right now is updating their retail and wholesale prices weekly, because the market is so volatile that it's changing instantly. You're seeing some cars that aren't selling dropping dramatically. You're seeing some that are in high demand spiking dramatically. I think there's, in some cases, that we saw certain vehicles and types of vehicles jump $5,000 to $10,000 in 1 month because of the new side where they're not producing any of these. So suddenly there's a spike, but what value really increased in these things? And so you've got to really watch out, because while one thing jumped $5,000, it could very well fall 10 the next month. So you've got to be very careful when you're purchasing or, pricing and all of these things.
Yeah. And this is what Cheryl was talking about, it where, scarcity created the value. But, I'm seeing articles today where it looks like probably around the end of the year, this semiconductor shortage, it is going to come to an end.
Yeah.
And that scarcity won't exist anymore, right?
Right.
So, you could see that value drop off if you're not careful. So what would be your advice to people who are looking at purchasing a vehicle right now?
Well, it's still an okay time to buy. I mean, nothing's really changed when you come down to like a local dealership. I mean, we're still looking at book values and things from 6 months ago to make sure that we're not pricing things too crazy. We're also predicting the thing is when this whole thing started at the beginning of the year, you had these analysts saying that it ain't going to come back till middle of next year to end of next year, maybe 2023. I think as anybody that's watching it closely can see is like you said, the semiconductors look like they're going to get back into normal production by Q3. So that's only a few months away, which means by Q4 of this year, we'll start seeing production spike back up to normal values. While it's low right now, that light at the end of the tunnel is right there. So a lot of dealers are now starting to figure out, okay, we're going to be okay, or uh-oh, we spent too much money on this stuff, so they're trying to get rid of it right away. Most of the things that we have here on our lot have been in the works for months anyways. We've got a lot of school orders that are finally coming in and trade-ins coming in, so we've been able to purchase everything the right way, been able to price everything the right way. So locally, I think you're fine. I think the biggest thing is to, that buyer beware of going out of town, because they're going to see that you're from out of town and maybe try to get one of those vehicles they have too much money in out the door right away.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I'm hearing is, and I think this is good advice any time of the day, week, month, or year, but work with your local dealers that trust, and have a relationship with.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's important anytime, but I think right now where everything's such a big change is deal with those that you trust. We're here every day. Like you said, we see you in the grocery store. We aren't going to be here when everything crumbles saying, oh, sorry. We want to have that lasting relationship where some of the bigger dealers are, a one and done shop type of place.
Yeah. Well, this is great. This is really good information. Are the dealers, are the manufacturers, are they looking ahead and saying that they think that you'll get more deliveries as they get into Q3, Q4?
As any big corporation, they're promising us all the world, but we see the light at the end of the tunnel. We've got a lot of new vehicles that are coming out that we're all really excited about. We're just hoping they stay on the timeline. I know there's new Jeeps coming out that my wife especially wants to. Thanks, Nikki. My wife really wants one of these new third row Grand Cherokees, and it's one of those things is we just got to wait and see when they hit the market.
Yeah, interesting time, as you say, with the switch over to the new model year. So what are the hot things? Let's take a minute and talk about some of the exciting things going on in the auto industry.
Well, we are kind of in a Jeep world right now. We've got new Jeep models coming out with the Jeep Grand Cherokee third row, new redesign of the second row, and then they've just announced two that we're getting into the full SUV market with the Grand Wagoneer and Wagoneer, which takes us up to a premium level that we've never seen. So we are definitely stepping up our game and looking forward to meeting new customers that haven't had a chance to shop with us before, because we've never been in that market, at least since not the early 90s. And, Ram Trucks, we're the third year in a row Motor Trend named us Truck of the Year. So that's been outstanding. And anytime you drive by, we've only got a couple left because they keep selling the second they come in.
So looking forward, obviously, there's a lot of discussion going on right now about electronic vehicles or electric vehicles. What are your guys' thoughts on those? And moving forward, are we going to see some of those models coming from Jeep and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think that's the future. EVs and hybrids and self-driving vehicles. There's no doubt that these are coming. Every manufacturer's jumped on board and they're stating dates and everything else. We have hybrid Jeep Wranglers now. We've got hybrid Pacifica minivans. We've got a lot of new vehicles that when they announce them, they're also saying there's going to be an electric version of them. And then self-driving, autonomous driving still scares me because I'm scared of seeing some of the people that are out there driving, let alone now giving over the reins to a computer, but it's there. Some manufacturers have it already. We have it coming with the Grand Wagoneer. It's going to be our first premier vehicle that's going to have a autonomous driving mode. So it's coming. I was in Florida last year, right before COVID hit, and my kids would look over and like, hey, look, they don't even have their hands on the wheel. What's going on? And it's like, yeah, there's vehicles that do that, and I think we're going to see more and more of that coming here in the near future.
Very, very cool. Well, TJ, thanks so much for taking some time and enlightening us on the automotive industry, because I know there's a lot going on and everybody sees it. If there's one thing that we all think we're experts on, it's automotive industry, right? Because we've all driven a car, so therefore we're all experts. But as we drive past all these lots, we see fewer and fewer vehicles on many of them. And it's really great to hear kind of the backstory and what's going on in that industry. So thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're gonna switch gears a little bit, talk about some other things. You're welcome to stay on if you have to run. We certainly understand. Okay.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, TJ.
Yep.
Yeah, so much going on in the auto industry. It's great to talk to TJ about that. But let's switch gears a little bit and talk about some of the things that are going on. Normally, obviously, we have Chris Patrick on from Main Street Fort Dodge. She's actually out working with a downtown developer, Cheryl. So what great news that is.
Yes, she has several that she's working with. So all of the facade work and the several millions of dollars worth of work in the last couple of years here in the downtown area is definitely paying off. So we are very excited about that. And of course, that's all I can say is that it's a developer. I have no idea anything else. But anytime that anybody's even looking, that's a great positive thing. So we're very excited for that. And so we will excuse her from joining us today.
Yeah, there was also some discussion about this program. I mean, if you can't pat yourself on the back, who's going to do it? So tell us about the discussion that was going on with our community discussions program.
Well, and I had no idea this was happening. I really didn't. Friday, Chris asked me to sit with her to watch the 2021 Main Street, Iowa Show Telling Award program. It was done virtual, and I did. And the supporting category, we were mentioned. Chris Patrick was the introduction to that program, and it's on YouTube, so you can go and look at it. And Chris Patrick was the speaker to introduce the supporting program, and voila, there we were, all of us talking on the business communities program, and they were highlighting it as one of the innovative programs implemented in 2020 in the state of Iowa. So kudos to all of us here for our 1 year plus in putting this together. And of course, Main Street, Iowa is a area underneath the Iowa Economic Development and the Downtown Resource Center. So lots of people looking at us and paying attention to our weekly program. The other one that was brought up was the Downtown Interactive Map, and talking about how we have every business and every location in the downtown district, Main Street district, is listed on the Downtown Interactive Map. And so anybody can go in. If they go to the restaurant category, they can see the restaurants. They go to the gift store, it'll show the gift store, it'll show empty buildings, and that this is constantly being updated. I know Chris works really hard on trying to make sure it's updated, but that we put that together last year with plans for RAGBRAI, and of course it'll be used this year as well for that. So that's was also brought up as a innovative project for the state of Iowa.
Yeah, very, very neat. So was there anything else that Chris shared with you that we definitely needed to get out to our viewers today?
Yes. The governor has announced a Community Pride video contest, and it's a perfect opportunity for us to showcase our community. If you are interested, you can get a hold of me, because this just happened here the other day. I think the 18th, so 2 days ago. So that's fresh. We are looking at doing something in the community, and what it is, it's an opportunity for communities to showcase support for their small businesses through the Iowa's Unite Community Pride video contest. And what do we get if we win? We get a huge mural painted by a very influential mural painter. So it's even if we don't win, if putting the video together and supporting our community, it would be huge. So we would love to hear from anybody. Get in touch with me, and like I said, we're just getting coordinated. There's nothing planned yet, other than we have to do it. We just Jed, Alpha Media crew, everybody on here, Darcy, TJ is the video dude, we could use you on that as well, and coming up with ideas of putting this together. So,
yeah, very neat. Okay, well, let's talk with Darcy a little bit about some of the things going on at North Central Iowa's SBDC. I know that you guys are always busy, but there's a lot going on with grants and a lot of updates that you might be able to give us.
Yeah, the biggest update that I want to give is on that restaurant revitalization fund. We just received word late yesterday afternoon that they're going to close the program for new applications on Monday, May 24th at 7 p.m. Central Time. They allocated originally $28.6 billion in funding to that program, and to date, they've received over 303,000 applications, representing over $69 billion in requested funds, and nearly 38,000 applications have been approved for more than $6 billion. So right now they're focusing on funds for businesses that had, well, in 2019 they had gross receipts of no more than 50,000. But we are encouraging all of our clients to still apply, because as you have seen over this past year, you never know when a program may receive more funding, and they'll take those applications that are in the queue as the first ones that they'll go to fund. So if you're not in the game, you're not going to even have a chance at, playing, so to speak. I think one of our SBDC directors yesterday said, if you don't buy a lottery ticket, you're guaranteed not to win. Same thing here. If you don't have your application in, you for sure will not receive funding. So it's just, if you can get it pulled together and get it submitted before Monday, before the portal closes for those new applications, then at least your application's in. There is talk about the possibility of maybe adding some more funding to that program. So we just want to make sure those businesses receive that. I also just had a couple of updates that I wanted to share as well. As I mentioned last week, we have the webinar series that is starting June 1st. This series is being brought to you from the state office, and they're bringing in Tom Shea of Profits Plus, and this is a workshop series that is geared towards retail. So he's going to talk all things pricing and retail throughout the month. So June 1st at 8:30 a.m., there'll be a segment on pricing strategies. The next date will be June 8th, stop giving away your profit. June 15th is how much is that doggy in the window, the cost of holding dead inventory. And then that's kind of an interesting title that I read that. Anyway, June 22nd, the science and art of buying. So all of that information is out on our Facebook page with links to register. So if you're a retail establishment, you can mark the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd down at 8:30 and attend those. Those are no cost, as a lot of the educational opportunities we bring are. Also, we have a Smart Start up in Lorenz. Kimberly and I are headed up there June 1st from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. This is in partnership with Iowa Central Community College. It's going to be held at the Northwest Iowa Career Academy. And we're going to cover all things for those that have just even thought maybe they want to start a business, but they're really not sure what all goes into it. So we're going to cover things like business, types of business ownerships, registering a business, business plans, market research, what bankers look for when you go in for financing, startup costs, and a lot more. And there is no cost to that either. So if anyone is interested, that information will be going up on our Facebook page later, probably early afternoon today. But they can call 712-335-4636 to get a seat at that, or they can email williams@iowacentral.edu to get their name on the list for that. And again, that's June 1st from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Also wanted just to remind people, a couple of weeks ago, we had Ethan Pitt on our show, Ethan was on our show talking about the Rural Business Innovators Program, and Ethan covered this kind of hybrid program between the Startup Factory at Iowa State. We've tweaked it and modified it to fit our kind of clients, and we actually provide one-on-one counseling as well as some peer opportunities for those that have an innovative idea, but they're not sure how to take it to market, or they're looking to get, investments and they're not sure how to package it. This is an awesome program. I have a client going through it right now, and I'm attending all the classes and the meetings with him to get a better understanding of the program. And I'm really impressed. It's pretty cool. So, and it's really tailored to that client. So, this particular client's been actually in business just for a little bit, but he fell into something and he needs to go back and kind of reorganize and really flush through kind of what his goals are and his timelines and things like that for growth. So, and this program will help him better prepare for the possibility of going through the Goldman Sachs program, which I know Cheryl speaks very, very highly of, having gone through that herself. So we're encouraging people to get a hold of us if you're interested in learning more, and I can pass you through to Ethan or answer your questions if I can. Just a couple other real quick things. Don't forget the Shop Iowa program is still going very strong, and it has been funded for additional years. So if you're a retail establishment or you have goods to sell and you are interested in kind of dipping your toes in the water to have an online presence for sales, get a hold of us at our office. We can work with you on getting set up for that. There is no cost for the first 25 items. So a really great way to kind of try it out, see if it fits your business, if you're able to accommodate it. Plus, it also gets you on a much larger platform. So if people are looking to buy, local goods from a certain community, they will type that in, or if they're looking for just a certain kind of item, maybe it's dog treats or something, they can type that in and it'll pull up. So it just helps you expand your market even more. So that's an awesome program. And then also we have photo boxes. We're still out delivering those all across the state. We had a bunch delivered up in Northwest Iowa yesterday. But those photo boxes are at no cost for folks to use. And if they're interested, they can get a hold of our center and we can hook them up with one. I know Chris has got a couple I dropped off at her office for downtown businesses to use. You just check them out, use them when you're done. You can bring them back, and there's instructions on how to take really good photos. And if you're struggling, get a hold of us and we can come help you. So that's the cool thing about being at the Small Business Development Center. It's not just sitting across the desk and working on a business plan. We're very hands-on and working with our clients to make sure that they're successful.
So one other thing that I want to bring up before we bring our show to a close, and that's something that I think all of us on this call are uniquely aware of, and that is the number of folks who are looking for employees right now is off the charts. Everyone is looking for good employees. And as you probably know, June 12th marks the end of the additional $300 a week, which it's my suspicion we're going to see a flood of workers into the workforce. So I would just remind everybody to get prepared for that. And if you are looking to hire employees, now's the great time to position yourself in front of everyone else who's going to be looking to do so. So lots of great ideas to do that. And I'll have kind of more information on that coming up in next week's show. I'll round that out a little bit more for you. We've got some things that we're going to be doing to help everybody, some free options, some paid options, but definitely tons of different ways that we can help you find the people that you're looking for, because right now it is going to be a rush to get the best people.
It's going to be so competitive. I can't, and I know Darcy and TJ can contest to this as well, that this is going to be something, but I am going to throw out the digital end. You need to make sure you look good online, because if they're going to be looking for a job and they have a lot of options out there to look for, they're going to go with the company that looks good, that looks progressive, that looks like something that they would want to go to, especially the really good workers that you're looking for, the high quality ones. So how you look online directly impacts your hiring as well.
Yeah, for sure. And TJ, if you want to jump in here, I'm sure that this is something that you've dealt with, not just on your sales team, but in your shop as well.
Yeah, I mean, finding the right guys has always been difficult, especially with mechanics. It's been a in-demand field for years and years, and lately it's been even harder. And even, when we talk about salespeople, there's a little bit of turnover on that end. But finding the right people for those spots, you've got to really talk to enough people and figure it out. And right now it's been hard. There's not a whole lot of people out there seeking these positions. And, Cheryl's right, is, you got to get out there, you got to present yourself as a exciting place to be at.
Yeah. So something that we definitely need to talk a little bit more about, and I think we can round out that a little bit more next week. But Darcy, I'd like you to jump in on this a little bit too, because you talk to so many different businesses, and I'm sure a lot of those folks are looking for employees as well.
There is, and we are encountering, clients that, like restaurants especially, that are still only like in takeout mode for servicing their patrons because they don't have enough wait staff, or they've had to completely change their store hours to accommodate the staff they do have, or they're closing for so many days a week just because they don't have staff. So, and the trick is going to be balancing quality employees. A lot of employers don't just want to hire a body. They want to make sure it's the right fit for their business and their quality and a good representative. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens come after the middle of June. But I know we'll have a lot of very happy business owners to get some folks back in, and so they can try to ramp back up to pre-COVID, hours and things like that.
Yeah, very good. So true. So true. Well, as we look at our program next week, we have a blank slate. That doesn't mean we won't have a program. It just means we will be looking to fill next week. And obviously there's things like the unemployment that we'll be talking about ourselves. However, if there's a guest that would like to join the show, we're looking to fill next week's show as well.
Yeah, and I'm going to put out there, we do have a couple people that we're talking to. We just haven't got the commitment, but it is blank, and first come, first served are basically, well, this doesn't happen very often that we have a week where we've got a spot. We've got month of June, I think, is pretty well full already. So if you are interested, give us a call. But that's all the time, right, Jed? We're always wanting for people to come in and let us know, and because there's a lot of things that we can talk about here, and it's best when it comes from the people in our own community. That's what we really want to push.
That's exactly right. So very good. That's going to do it for this show. Unless there's something that I missed that you'd like to let me know about, I think that's going to do it for this show. So thanks everybody for jumping on and participating today. TJ, thanks for pulling back the curtain and giving us a peek at the auto industry. That was so informative today. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. And of course, as always, we have a representative from America's SBDC, or North Central Iowa's SBDC specifically. And this week we were so lucky to have Darcy Swan join us. Thank you so much for all the information that you give us, especially surrounding those grants. I know that our business community is really happy to have a place where they can find out that information and get those updates quickly. So thank you so much.
Well, thanks for letting us be a part of the show. It's always very informative, and I always leave with more information than I came in with. So thank you.
Yeah. And of course, Cheryl O'Hearn with Spin Market Plus Digital. Thank you so much for all your information on getting these things together and sharing with us all the information that you have as well. Thank you so much. And that's gonna do it for this week's show. We'll see you next week, 9 a.m. on the Main Street Fort Dodge Facebook page. You can also catch it on the Alpha Media YouTube channel. Please like and share with all your friends as well. We want to get this information out to as many folks as possible. And don't forget that we'll see you again next week right here on the Main Street Fort Dodge Facebook page. Thanks.